Specific leaves. I'm just gonna have a few slides on the extra legal days off. So we already covered the legal days off. So in Belgium, you have 10 public holidays, jours fériés in French. You are entitled to 20 days of legal days off, assuming you have worked full-time the previous year. I'm not gonna go into that detail because we already covered this in the previous virtual office hour. But what we wanted to discuss this time is the extra legal days off. It's not compulsory. It's why it's called extra legal days off. It's not illegal. It's just extra legal days off that some employers offer to their staff. I would say in the non-for-profit sector, most of the non-for-profit sector would give extra legal days off. Most of them because they mandatory close their office between Christmas and New Year's Eve. So they would then use extra legal days off to cover those few days in between. So extra legal days off, there is no rule really concerning those days off. So it's quite important that if you want to have a policy and give those extra legal days off, that you set up your own rules regarding those days off, especially in terms of payment. Are you going to give the same level of salary for those days, for example? Accrual, if the staff is not taking all their days off by their extra legal days off by the end of the year, is this transferable to next year, for example? And if somebody is leaving and didn't take all their extra legal days off, is this part of the end of the contract payout? Yeah? Are you going to pay the staff for the days they didn't take? Yeah, or you have a different policy? You basically decide on this, but it's better to have this in writing before you start having questions from your staff about this. This is not very common in international non-for-profits in Belgium, but it's quite common in Belgian non-for-profits. So as you know, in Belgium, the number of hours per week is 38 hours. But a lot of organizations in Belgium actually suggest that you work 40 hours and that you get compensated by the equivalent of 12 extra days off during the year. Again, very common in Belgian non-for-profit. I'm yet to see this in international non-for-profits for some reason. So it is possible if you want to have this policy. Okay, now we are moving to the other type of leaves that we have in Belgium, and we have a lot of them for nearly all kinds of situations, really. And one of this, which I think it's quite unique in Europe, is the paid educational leave. And this is quite, even in international NGO, we start having this, which is a situation where staff decides to take some training, official training, so it has to be delivered by an official school in Belgium. If he does enroll for one of those courses and is actually following the classes, then he might be entitled to paid educational leave. And this is actually paid by the Belgian state. It's not paid by you. But you will have to advance the money. So you will have to pay the staff for those days off and then recuperate that money from the European, the Belgian government. Actually, the Brussels government in this case. There are some conditions. You have to officially enroll for the course. You have to plan the days off that you want to take during the year. So this is something that you have to discuss with your employer. It's not that you can just choose whatever you want. There is a ceiling in terms of number of hours you can have and the number of hours you can study for. And you have to attend physically 90% of the classes. At every class where there is students that are getting the paid educational leave, the teacher will have to sign on the presence list. So you have to be on the presence list and then get a certificate from the school that certify that you have been 90% of the hours. So yeah, maximum 10% of absence is authorized. So if one of your staff is starting and then he or she realize that he or she is not gonna finish or continue, then he's no longer entitled to those paid educational leave. Maternity leave in Belgium, the total is 15 weeks. 17 weeks if it's more than one child. You can think a maximum of 6 weeks prenatal, so before the actual birth. But a minimum you have to take a week. So a minimum a week before giving birth, or the official day you're supposed to give birth. Postnatal, a minimum of 9 weeks, but can be up to 14 weeks, depending on how many weeks you have taken before. The mutuelle is going to pay, so that's not the employer is going to pay for those weeks. And you are getting, or the staff is getting 82% of the salary for the first 30 days. And for those first 30 days, the salary, there is no ceiling to the salary you're getting. But from the 31st days onwards, you are getting 75% of your normal gross salary. And this gross salary is actually, there is a maximum to the amount you can receive. So since the 1st of January 2023, it's 128.02. This is the daily gross salary that you get paid. So actually, you would think looking at this that you are being paid less than your normal salary, which is correct. But you will realize if you're an employee that when you actually receive the money from the mutuelle, it will either be the same or more or less the same amount that you used to receive, or even higher. And the reason why the amount is higher from the mutuelle is the fact that they don't take withholding tax on what they are paying you. So it's a gross amount, and you will end up having to pay taxes on this. So that's why from the mutualité, when they give you the money, gross equals net. So you have the impression that you're getting more money, but you will have to pay. It's because you are not actually paying taxes from the money you're receiving from the mutualité. So it's something to explain to the staff so that they understand that at some point this amount is going to be taxed. Breastfeeding breaks during work. So when you're back working, you can also get those breaks. If you are working less than 7.4 hours, so between 4 and 7.4 hours a day, you are entitled to half an hour break that you get paid again 82% of your gross salary from the mutualité. If you are working more than 7.5 hours, you have the right to 1 hour or twice 30 minutes break. You have to keep track of this, and HR needs to keep track of this for the payroll. Paternal or paternity leave. So in Belgium, you have the right to 20 days off. This is for fathers or co-parents. you must take the leave within 4 months of the birth. You can take it all at once, or you can spread it over those 4 months. The first 3 days is paid by the employer, full salary. The rest is paid by the mutuality, again, at 82% of the capped daily gross salary. Those limitation on the amount that you are receiving from the mutuality, some employer have a policy to if there is a difference between what you are receiving from the mutuality and what you would have received as an employee working, some of the employer are actually covering the difference. And some of the employer also can decide to give more than 20 days, especially the maternity leave. 15 weeks is quite low, even by European standards. So there are a few NGOs that decide to give a lot more. I've seen NGOs that they would give a full year of maternity leave. Parental leave, so it's both for mothers and fathers, and it could also be the equivalent of the biological mother and father, for example, adoptive parents, situations where you have lesbian couples or homosexual couples. All of this is covered. 4 months in total. We will have to, for this, I will just assume it's, we are after 2012. The allowance, the money that you receive is for the 4 months, and you have to take it before the 12th birthday of the kid. So during the 12 first years. Unless your child is handicapped or the child is handicapped, in this case, you can go up to the 21st anniversary or birthday. Career break, it's called créditant in French. It used to be a lot better than what it is now, because in Belgium in the past, we used to have a situation where you could take career break without explanation, sans motif, we say in French. So when I started in HR, there were a few people who actually took that option. After 3 years, because you have to have worked in the organization for 3 years. You have a lot of NGOs that used to have and probably still has the option to take a career break after 3 years in the organization. In the situation of Belgium in the past, you could actually use this option, legal option, and get paid by the state, at least part of your previous salary, because a lot of NGOs, if they offer the options to take a career break after 3 years, they are actually not paying for that break. So that situation in the past allowed you to be paid by the Belgian state while taking a career break. Now they have limited this already for a few years now, where you can only do this for specific situation. You can do this to take care of your kids, so you can do it of your child. You can do it for 48 months. You can do it if you have a sick family member. You can go up to 51 months. And you can go back to school for 3 years, at least partly being paid by the Belgian state. So it's still quite nice, I think. It can be spread over your lifespan. In this case, it's career span, I guess. So the duration of your career, you can take it anytime you want. You can do it full time, or you can do it part time, or you can do it down to 1/5, so 1 day a week. and you get partly, well, you get benefits from the Belgian state, which is part of what you used to receive as an employee, as a salary. Senior vacation. This is, if you remember the presentation about the European holidays, is a bit of the same. It's for situation where somebody is going back to work after a period where the person was either unemployed or was not working. So so you have to be 50 or above. So if you are 50, let's say 52, and then for a year you're not working, if you had to start working again, if you remember the logic of the single and double holiday pay in Belgium, you would not receive holidays on your first year, because the year before, because you were unemployed, you were not accruing days off for the year you are actually working now. So to motivate people to go back to work, and having those maximum 4 weeks of holidays on their first year, they created this senior vacation. So it's very specific to people returning to work after 50, after their 50th anniversary. And for those 4 weeks, you are getting paid by the Social Security in Belgium. Application leave. This is, I would say, maybe 5 or 6 years old. So this is a situation where you're resigning from your job, or you are getting fired, or somebody is getting fired. This person has the option to take days off to go and apply for another job. Depending on your notice period, and notice period in Belgium can be quite long. It could be one day or half a day. Yeah. So during the last 26 weeks, is once or twice a week for the equivalent of a full working day. And before the last 26 weeks, it's only half a day per week. Okay. Belgium also gives occasional leaves. So those situations are based on specific situation and are usually quite short-term leaves. So for example, if you are attending weddings, if somebody in your family is sick, I'm not talking long-term sick situation. But for example, if your kid is sick for like a few days or a week, a death in your family, participation into election, for example, if you have to organize a local booth for the next European election, or if you have to attend the jury, or you're part of the reserve at the Army Reserve in Belgium. In all of those situations, you might have to take days off, and in those situations, you get paid days off for a specific reason. You just have to tell your HR person as soon as you know. So, for example, if you are getting married, you are entitled to 2 to 3 days during the week of your wedding. HR can ask for a wedding certificate, so check with your HR, or if your HR have a policy on this. If it's the marriage of one of your kids or brothers, sisters, or you have the whole list here, the wedding day is a day off for you, a paid day off. Somebody is passing away in your family, so depending on how close you are to that person, you are entitled to 2 to 3 days. This is specific to those kind of days, in effect, people usually take more than 3 days, especially if it's a closed family member. But then either the company has a policy to give more than 3 days. In all of those situations, you can give more than what the Belgian state is giving. It would be extra legal days off, as we discussed at the very beginning, but you can do it, yeah. Or they can also take their normal days off to cover the rest of the time they are out of work or off work. Other situation where somebody died in your family, I don't know the term, the actual term in English, communion, maybe. So actually the day it happens in Belgium is usually on a Sunday. So if it falls on a Sunday, you get the Monday off. A lot of people don't know about this and they don't ask for it and they don't get it, which is a bit of a shame because, I mean, it's a right in Belgium. So the equivalent of communion, but for people that are not religious. So that's the first example here. I don't think, I mean, it might be applicable to your organization, but there are not that a lot of people attending those events. If you are participating to recruitment or selection for it, it's called militia here, but it's basically the reserve of the army in Belgium. You have you can ask for maximum of 3 days, depending on how long it takes. Other situation, if you have to go to court as a jury member, for example, you can ask for maximum of 5 days. A lot of situation where you're basically forced to attend would be covered by those kind of occasional days. Yeah? Days off, sorry. This is a situation if you, for example, a few years ago, I had to do this, being an assessor for the election. Especially if you are responsible for a whole election station, this can the organization of this can take a few days. So I'm not surprised that you can have up to 5 days. For people like me, for example, who just attended the day of the election, I mean, I don't think you really need 5 days. But if you were supposed to work on that day, in Belgium, election happens on Sundays, so you would be off anyway. If you were to work on that Sunday, for example, then this is a day off that you can that can be paid. So that's it in terms of the different days off and leave of absence. I just wanted to remind you that if you have any doubts about whether or not your HR policy includes all the different kind of days off that the staff can take, but also other compliance or regulatory things that you want to be taken care of, you can always ask us to have a look at your systems and policies and see if they are still compliant with Belgian regulation. We also do that with European institution funding. So whether your policy is in line with what your donors are asking or your donors' requirement. Okay, now we are moving to question time. Yosra, you on?
Yes, we have 2 questions so far, and I encourage everyone else to put their question in the chat section of this call or raise their hands. So our first question comes from Valentina. She's saying, can you work somewhere else during a career break? For instance, abroad or as a freelancer?
The situation I had was the situation of somebody taking a break to go and study abroad, and that was acceptable. Whether or not you can work, I don't know. This is something I can we can try to figure out for you. I'm quite sure you cannot work in Belgium because you are still on payroll in your, so it's a break of your contract, and you are, even though you are not paid anymore, well, you are not paid by the employer, you are still on payroll in Belgium. So I don't think you can be on two payrolls. So yes, huh?
Okay, so our next question comes from Paula. She's saying, what about medical appointments? Is this considered sick leave? Can the employer request a certificate for the medical appointment?
So
she's worried.
Is this a medical appointment because the person is feeling sick? Or
No,
is it
sorry. A planned, for example, I had some cases, a planned medical appointment that can even last, for example, the whole day.
Yes. And is this person sick or not? Or is just outside?
No, I mean, it's this is the question.
Yeah.
Are we allowed to ask what kind of checks are you undergoing, or if the person,
I mean, the person,
if the person is at home sick, that is undergoing additional checks? No, it's, for example, a planned day.
Yeah, like going to the dentist or something.
For example.
Yeah. Well, then they have to take normal days off for this. They can ask for sick leave if they are sick. Yeah. And in situation where somebody is sick, well, now the rule has changed and relaxed a bit on sick leave. We decided not to put sick leave on this presentation, but we can do another one on sick leave as well. If somebody is sick for a day, he doesn't even have to go to a doctor anymore. He doesn't need a doctor's certificate. At least in Belgium, you are no longer obliged to do this on the first day of sick leave. Yeah? Yes. So I mean, if somebody needs to go to the dentist or somebody needs to go to the hospital to have a checkup or something like this, they have to take their normal days off. Or unpaid leave if they don't have days off anymore. So this is something that I forgot to mention, but the extra legal days off, you can have extra legal days off paid and unpaid. Huh? So you can also have a policy in terms of unpaid leave, if whether people can take unpaid leave and how many days they can take a year and stuff like this. It's good to have a policy on this before you start having situations where people are asking for it. So of course, unpaid leave, they should only take unpaid leave when they have used all the paid leaves, of course. But it happens sometimes. People use, in December and they have used up all their days off and they still need to do some stuff. Then they could potentially use unpaid leave. But then you have to have a policy for this. Yeah. I hope it answered the question.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have more questions?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Anas is asking if it is possible to gift your own holidays to a colleague, and how does that work?
So you decide not to take your days off and give it to somebody else?
Yes.
You can't do this with legal days off, because the 20 days off, if you remember my presentation about the single holiday pay, is both a right and an obligation. For extra legal days off, it depends on your policy. You can have a policy where you allow days off to be exchanged between staff members. One thing about legal and extra legal days off is, in practice, it's when you decide which one to use first, it's always better to use the Belgian legal days off first and keep the extra legal days off for after all the legal days off has been used. Yeah, because it's really important that people take their 20 days off, because it's both a right and an obligation again. So not possible for your legal days off. That's the short answer. But possible with your extra legal days off if you have a policy that allows it. Do we have another question?
No, we don't. There is Mandy who is thanking you for this edition. She says she's going to be in touch.
Okay. Yes, if anyone has questions that is not related to this presentation, I guess no. Okay. Well, it was a pleasure to have you on. Next week, we have a presentation about EC cost eligibility criteria, so whether a cost is eligible for the European Commission or not, and what kind of supporting documents we need to justify the eligibility of cost. So it's really related to mainly finance people and organizations that get funding from the European Commission. So that's the topic for next week. Feel free to join if you're interested. All right. I wish you a nice weekend and see you soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.